Hi, Year 10, morning. So here is your lesson for today. What we're going to be learning about today is features in the river's upper course. Okay, so just to recap for you, remind you what the upper course of the river is. Remember, we can divide a river into three sections. The bit near the source at the top of the river is called the upper course. You've got the middle course and the lower course. And we're going to focus on this bit today. So what kind of features you get in this first section of a river where the gradient of the river, the slope of the river is still quite steep. The river channel itself is quite narrow. It's up in the hills and the river's quite flat, fast flowing, and there's mainly vertical erosion going on. It's eroding the river, the land downwards. Okay, and there are two types of features we're going to focus on today, waterfalls and interlocking spurs. We're going to do this one first, interlocking spurs. Okay, so this here is a diagram of a river in its upper course. You can see it's kind of quite narrow up here near its source. It's weaving its way around in between these little hillocks. Each of these bits here, the sides of the valley, kind of stick out one in front of the other, and the river has to weave its way in between them. And these happen because the river is eroding downwards. The river's eroding vertically in the upper course of the river, and that creates this traditional V-shaped valley shape landform. Okay, and the interlocking spurs are these bits here, these bits that stick out. So this is a spur, this is a spur, this is a spur, this is a spur. These bits of hillside that stick out, and the river has to weave its way around. They're called interlocking spurs. Okay, and this photo shows us some interlocking spurs in real life. Oh, I've just realised that I've got a little pom-pom handmade turtle in the background for you to enjoy. So this photo here is showing these interlocking spurs in real life. Not quite as neat as in the diagram, but this is the river here. Okay, and you've got these kind of lumps of land that stick out that the river has to weave its way around. Those are called interlocking spurs, and they're found in the upper course of the river. Now, the main feature we're going to look at today are waterfalls. And we're going to learn about how waterfalls form. So these usually form in the upper course of a river. Okay, this is Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe, some famous ones here. You've got Niagara Falls and a waterfall on the Brazilian-Argentinian border as well, just to enjoy the pictures of some beautiful places. So, formation of waterfalls. Okay, waterfalls form in the upper course of a river. And usually, I'm going to go onto my whiteboard now, usually waterfalls form in areas where you've got a layer of hard rock here. This pen's a bit fat for doing this. On top of a layer of softer rock. So the hard rock withstands erosion more easily than the soft rock does. And the soft rock erodes more easily. So the river is here, flowing along the top of these two layers of rock. And what starts to happen over time is that it's probably flowing downhill at this point because it's in the upper course of the river. Okay, the river's flowing here, it's flowing downhill. And what happens as it flows downhill is that it creates a bit of a step, because the hard rock is more resistant and erodes more slowly, and the soft rock gets worn away more easily. So it creates a bit of a step here. Okay, and this is the river flowing over the hard and the soft rock. Over time, what happens is that step becomes more pronounced. So there's my hard rock on top of my soft rock with the river flowing along the top. Okay, and the step becomes a bit more severe. It becomes more like a traditional drop of a waterfall. Okay, this hard rock here is really resistant to erosion. It doesn't erode quickly, but this soft rock underneath gets worn away much more quickly. And you get this bit of a cave almost behind forming because of erosion. This soft rock is getting worn away by all this water flowing down and hitting this area quite quickly. And this is the area where you see on films and things, if they're going to walk behind a waterfall, this is the bit they'd go behind and stand in. Okay, as well as the back here getting eroded, the bottom of that area can be eroded too. Okay, so it creates a bit of a pool. This is called a plunge pool. This bit here, okay? So where you see people jumping off into waterfalls, okay, and they can kind of go quite deep down, not necessarily a safe thing to do. Okay, and this bit here, where it's wearing away behind the waterfall, is called undercutting. The erosion is wearing back and wearing that bit of rock away. Then, over time, this process goes on and on. We've got our hard rock again on top of our soft rock. The undercutting becomes bigger. I've not drawn my plunge pool in there. Got the river here. This cave has become bigger. The plunge pool has become bigger. And eventually, this bit of hard rock here can't be supported anymore. This becomes too heavy and it collapses. And we get a collapse happening. And that process repeats over and over again. And what you end up with, this is my river here, my soft rock gets worn away again, this collapses, gets worn away again, this collapses, gets worn away again, this bit of hard rock collapses. And this is called retreat. The waterfall moves backwards up the river valley over time, and that process is called retreat. And what we end up with there here is the waterfall used to be here at the front of this diagram, and over time it's moved backwards, and it's now here. You're left with what was a gorge, with what is called a gorge, where the waterfall used to be, and it's moved backwards. This is the gorge here, these steep-sided sections. So what I want you guys to do is there are 2 video clips here to watch, a BBC one and then a Time for Geography one. So watch both of those videos about the formation of waterfalls, and then open the Word document that's also on Show My Homework, and you've got 4 diagrams on there. I want you to draw them out in your book or on some paper if you haven't got your book, if your book's still at school. Okay, I want you to kind of draw diagrams a bit like I've done. They don't have to be beautifully artistic. Mine are not. Okay, so the main task for most people to do is to draw these diagrams, and using the descriptions that are on the Word document, which look like this. Okay, I want you to write out, or you could print out this document if you've got a printer, but you can write out these and think about which words are going to go into these gaps to make those descriptions make sense. So draw the diagrams, write descriptions to explain what's happening. You can use these and fill in the missing words so that they make sense. A more challenging task is to draw out the diagrams and write the explanations in your own words. And here are some keywords that you need to try and use if you're doing it yourself. Okay, and you could highlight these in your descriptions as you're doing it. When you've done that, depending on how much time you've got, remember this should take you roughly around an hour. So if you need something else to do to fill that time, okay, you could have a go at this. This is a little bit of grid references practice. Can you give the grid references for the buildings labelled A, B and C? Can you give the grid references for the waterfalls labelled W, X, Y and Z? And on the final slide on the PowerPoint, the answers are there as well, so you can check that for yourselves. Okay, any problems, do email me. Okay, I hope that you're all keeping well, and I'll put another lesson on later on in the week as well for our second geography lesson. All right, nice to speak to you all. See you soon. Bye.